Well, here we are again. Let's see. This is a little different than what my video piece is a little different than what I did in class, and so all gets a little confusing. I'm gonna show the other two. Uh, so I like this. I wondered if I had too much white. Now that I look at it again, I don't think I do. I'm going to glaze other color on top of this. So I have this one that I did in class. You can see these areas are shaded in. And there is just a bit of the top glazing. So this does not have as much white. It's got a little white in the original mixture, and it doesn't have an overlay of white yet. And I think I'm going to go about that a little differently. Then I have this. Oh my gosh. So this is just too bright for this part of the building. And it's too yellow. This is one that I did on the Fabriano soft pressed. Apparently soft pressed has a preferred side. That is, the front side has a little less texture. I'm not liking how, when I used really wet paint, how it settled in the texture here. And this also lifts extremely easily. So I have options here. I could lift some of this back out. I could also just add a glaze that would tone this color down. So I think what I'm going to do is just an illustration to people that are learning watercolor, or maybe you've forgotten a thing or two. Let's just look at both ways here on, you know, some of this is outside of the actual painting. So I'll just do a little bit of lifting on this Fabriano. I'm just barely touching it. Look how much came up. And if I blot, you know, so I could get a lot of color up that way. So I'm going to show you the other way. But sometimes you just want to go duller. You don't want to go lighter. Maybe you're still getting darker. So far we've used basically 3 colors in this. We have used quinacridone lilac, which I happen to like because it's got a little bit of blue in it, and it's very, very bright. And so this makes a really, if you mix it with Quin Gold, it makes a really, really rich color, because that little bit of blue in there, and that it's so bright, the combination kind of does a nice thing. And then the other color that we were using is cobalt teal. Now, don't confuse that with cobalt turquoise. Cobalt teal is an opaque. It's bright, but it's opaque. So I'm going to put a little of the red into this. Oh, and there I got a purple. You know, I think I want a cooler purple than that. I'll just add, let's stick with this. So what I'm doing is I'm using color that we already have used, and I'm mixing it. I'm using that first. Sometimes I might just use that as a base and add another color, but I'm starting out with part of our original triad. It needs a little more red, maybe just a little bit more. There. Okay. Now I could combine, see, this is almost a gray kind of, it's a lavender color, I guess you would call it, but it's got a lot of gray tone into it, because this cobalt teal has a lot of yellow in it, and the lilac has a lot of blue in it. So they really tone down the purple when they're combined. So let's try a little bit of this, because purple would be opposite yellow on the color wheel. And I might just, oh, that's a little strong, and oh, it looks a little too blue. Let's just weaken it a little bit. Yeah, that's not getting it for me. I think it's got to have more red. So I've added a little bit more. I'm kind of back to where I started a while ago. Let's try that up here. Okay, so when it goes on, it looks pretty gray. I'm really bothered with when I make thin applications on this paper, the way that on the Fabriano soft press, on the way that it shows up the texture. I think this is made for working with a little thicker paint, or Lauren has a technique where he does a lot of brushing, and so I think it kind of smooths it out by the time it dries. I like to just float it on and let it be watercolor. So that would tone this down and deepen it. But I think what I'm really going to like is just a touch of white into this mix. So I'll set this over here. Got to be careful about how much white. Yeah, that looks about right. My color is still dominant, but it is really softened a whole lot. This may actually help with part of that textural problem. But I am on the back side of this, which has more texture than the front. I think Lauren likes to use the front. Okay, something there, only a little bit thinner. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit on this piece. I'm just going to use it a little bit in one place to demonstrate it, because I'm also going to demonstrate to that class. So I've thinned this out. Just go over everything. And I'm just going to fade it. And we'll come back and look at it when it's dry. I think it still needs more white. Let's back up here and do a little more white and see. So, if you're anything like me, a lot of you sometimes mix the color, and when you get it on later, you come back and look at it, and you decide, oh, that wasn't what I really needed. Now, I'm showing you ways to go back and fix that. It's just like when you painted that wall in your house, that shade of blue that just looks so great in the sample, and then when you got it all up, it was like, don't think so. Okay, now this goes on. You can see that it looks milky. It's noticeably milky. So that's probably going to have a lot better effect. I will let that dry. It's real easy to soften edges on this because, well, just the way it works. All right, so I will set this aside for now, and we'll come back to it later. See, this is going to have glazes on top of it. I really like the way this one's coming along. And I've got some shadow color in here and here. So that's, okay. I'm going to take a little different direction on this, in that I'm going to do this center part first, and get a strong dark color in here, and then build the rest of it to go with this. I don't have the photo out here. Here's my photo, and you can see it gets very dark right in here. There's a darker shadow right there. This is a pretty strong red. So I did something, a test thing right here. Okay. And I was pretty happy with that. So I think we're going to use something along those lines. I'll probably layer this. So this is phthalo green on top of the rest of this. Okay, let's give it a shot here. So this time I think I'll use this little deal so you can see better. I didn't have this arranged very well. Let's get some fresh water. Okay. I'm going to use Quinn Gold. Every time I order paint, I order 2 tubes of Quinn Gold. I use so much of it. So this is going to be pretty strong paint. And my my paint has had water in it overnight. So see, this is what you would call creamy paint. Okay. Now, what I'm trying to do here is save money by getting every last bit of paint out of that brush. And then I'm going to add to that, I'm going to add my lilac. I better just move this so I don't drip on it. Well, now that is it's a beautiful red. Actually, it's about the color of this part right here. Okay, I think I'll use that. I'd really intended to put more lilac in it, but I've changed my mind. Okay. So, now, because I want this paint really strong, and I'm using a round brush here, I'm gonna squeeze that out. It's had water in it, so it's not gonna be resistant to moisture. Okay, but I've squeezed it out. You got to squeeze the belly of the brush because that's where all the paint's hiding. And I'm loading it up. I know y'all have seen me do this before, but apparently not everybody's noticed. So I'm laying that in there and rolling it because I'm really loading it up. I took a little off the tip there. Now in my sample, you see where I pulled the color over here. I'm not going to do that yet. Oh dear, I don't think it has enough gold in it. I do not. Well, we can add some more later. Because on this side, I don't want a lot of gold in it. Okay, here we go. Now we get down here, it gets really, really dark, and then it graduates into this, this green. Looks like cobalt teal almost. Oh, well, that's why we used cobalt teal. Wow. Well, didn't that just work out fine? Okay. So let's come on down. And all of this area where this is really dark, I want that to be really rich with color. So I'm going to pull this down in here quite a ways. Okay, on down like this. And then let's fade it out. Let's start fading it into this area. Whoops, went over the edge a little bit. Oh, that grabbed fast. It was already grabbing into the paper. Here we go. See, I'm working my brush. It's kind of laying on its side. And that kind of color here. You see, it's not pure color coming on down in here, even little spots of it there. So let's pull that red down into here. Maybe just a spot or two of it, like that. I'm squeezing my brush out, and I'm going to pull a little of this up. It's what I like about a natural hair brush. It not only holds water well, it's really good for pulling the color up when you want to. I like to put down sometimes more color than I'm going to use, and then I suck up what I decide I didn't want. So I would like this to be a little stronger right up in here. And because this is pretty thick paint, and I don't have any extra water in my brush, whoop, trying to keep that curve kind of nice. Okay, so right there. Now we're going to let that dry naturally. Be back in a bit. Okay, here we go again. So, let's look at the rest of this. What we're going to do is we're going to put some shadow here and up in here and, you know, there and there. So, some of the side stuff. And when you look at this business up here, it actually gets lighter right there. That's a little greenier around the edges up here. And in this area is some of this stuff in shadow. It's about the same color as that. It's red-ish, okay? So we're gonna do that. Okay, let's see. Let's figure this out. So first thing we need is we need a color for here. And it needs to vary a little bit to be more interesting. We don't want the same exact thing all the way down. In fact, of course, it's darker here. Look, there's a greeny cast right there. That's a good clue what to do. And there's a greener down in here. It's really more on that side of the bar, but I'm inclined to make it come across. And then this is more gold. So we could play with this. And it's not about copying this exactly, other than the idea that some things work better, like this curve feels more right because there's shadow right there. You know, I want to use that, but I just want to have fun with this. By the way, I think that's a water faucet. You know, it's so pixelated, it's hard to tell. Okay, and so here's our red, and it's held up very nicely. It's bright, you know, and I love this area right in here. I love that so much that I'm inclined to think maybe I won't go all this dark here. So let's see. Yeah, you don't get the glare. From where I'm sitting, I get a lot of glare on this, but maybe we won't go quite this dark right in this area. Stay darker over here and up there and there. Okay. So I've got my color, which has gotten very thick. Okay, I've got my color that was in the door, the behind the gate. That's what I should say. Let's put a little water on that and reconstitute it. Now that's just too red. So let's put out some more Quin Gold. That's pretty strong, remember, because this was all pre-wet overnight. If you want to come into class with really rich color, you might wet it the night before. But then you can't carry it sideways. I know some people like to carry it sideways. And then let's get our cobalt teal. think the brush has got a little bit of yellow still left in it. Okay, there. Now what? Well, I've got all my spaces used up. Let's tint that gold some with this, and with a little of this, maybe on this side, a little greener over there. If I need more of one or the other, I'll just dip into them. All right. So I'm back to using a black velvet, not black magic. Okay, and I'm gonna pre-wet it so it's not resistant to being wet, and I'm gonna give it a squeeze, and I'm gonna roll it. Okay. So let's go here first. See, I don't want this to be as dark, so this, oh, I need to be careful there. I want this to be wetter. In fact, I might need to add a little more water to that mix. There, I've got more of the cobalt turquoise into the mixture. Let's just, oh dear. Well, that was very cobalt there. Well, we'll just leave our green right in here and go back to like more gold as we go down. Whichever. I had a few mistakes on my drawing, and these things, these are not really right. And this has curlicues all the way around, I think, but I just couldn't see them well enough, and I decided we had enough of them, and I just stopped right there. So, but number 78 will never know that we did this. I think I want a little more red in there. Just pick up a little more of this. Oh, that's pretty red. Yeah, cool. And this is wet enough that they can just flow into each other. Or I can tease it along here a little bit. There. Got nice and dark down here when I tilted it. I like that. I think that's a little too green. I want it to be green, but maybe just not overbearingly so. See, this is all still really wet, so I can play with it and move it around without any big problems. In an area like this right here, that'll kind of merge together on its own, I think, if I just leave it alone. Okay, I like that. So let's pick up some more of our base color. I'll use the green. And on this picture, this one's lighter out here and gets dark in there. By the way, that little thing there is just not right either. Can't be. It's hard to tell what's going on in the picture. Okay, I've got enough going on here. I might just want to take a little bit off of my brush. See, when I do that, I'm not taking the water out of the tip. I'm taking a little moisture out of the belly. My mother brought me up to never use that word belly. I still don't know why. Oh, I forgot to change color. Okay, let's wipe this off and pick up a little green, and let's put in a dab of green up here. Well, I don't have my brush loaded up enough. There we go. And some of that should merge together. If it doesn't, we'll deal with it later. Okay. I'm going to do this area, and I'm going to just come on in here and get some color started in the center along with this. Pick up a little more green right here. A little more gold into that. It's too much. See, you can change it up as you go. Now this is just going to be part of sort of a beginning wash on what's coming below here. Yeah, that's kind of pretty. Put something in here. So some of you don't have your paints wet enough. I get you to dry them because it'll last you a lot longer. But some of you get them really dry and then you never re-wet them enough. There again, we've got a little variation going on there. You know, if you wanted to be a perfectionist about this, you could lay a piece of tape there and paint up to it. Okay, we've got that. Now, other than letting that dry, let's just look at where we might deepen some areas. So, for instance, down to this line here, see there has been a golder, deeper area here. And I've got that lightened pretty much like this right now. So what if I thin this gold out a whole lot? Kind of does down here a little bit. We'll get it just a little bit stronger. And it could easily be uneven. In fact, there's a place right there that right there could stay, whoops, there could stay lighter. I may not have this strong enough that it'll make a noticeable difference. Maybe. Let's see. Now, in doing this, there's a couple of things. I have this very gold, and one of the reasons is that I already painted white down here. And red and white make pink. So, I'm being pretty careful. Oop. Well, there goes my marker. I'm being pretty careful to not move the white around that's underneath. And some of that is just about a very light touch. You're just letting the paint flow off the end of this brush. Oh, there. Well, there's another place. Let's see. I even drew a mark, but I can't see it anymore. There's a place right here. In fact, that could just bleed right into this side for now. Now, this has got to be lighter than this stuff. So, very little pressure. See, sometimes you see me make a stroke, make multiple strokes, but they're very light. I am not working the paint into the paper. There. Because if I do that, I will, well, one thing, I don't paint that way. But secondly, I don't want to pick up the white that's underneath and mix it with this and make it get pasty. And I especially don't want it to get into my reds because I don't want pink. And for those of you who love pink, I don't want to hurt your feelings. It's just the way it is. I got a little redder down here, the base, because we don't want the color to look the same everywhere. In fact, why don't we just do a little bit more of that red in several places? We're just gonna, because this is all still wet, most of it. If it's still shiny, it's not shiny over here. It's a little bit shiny up there. Soften that edge a little bit. See, things like that. Okay. I think I'm going to upload this much and then come back, because if I make the uploads too long, I don't know, it does something awful.